voted. They listened.
Oops, sorry, wrong one. My bad. Here we go.
You voted. They didn't like the answer.
You're the people that are recommending to us, we the people, let's bring it to the voters. Let the voters vote. If the voters say no, then guess what? We need to do a stinking ordinance, which could have been done several years ago as a council.
Out of the mouths of babes. They did pass that stinking ordinance to double the mayor's pay. Of course, it would have been more honest if they had just done it that way from the beginning. Instead, they sent it to the voters first. Here's what the mayor said before the voters turned down the pay raise.
Chapter 1. The Proposition.
And it is important, and as an elected official, I have to take a stance that I trusted the citizens to elect me. I trusted the citizens, and each one of us went out and said, you can trust us to elect us. And then when it comes to an important issue, we have to put that back out and say we trust the citizens to make decisions on this. These are not decisions that we get to make as city councilors or as the mayor. These are the decisions that the citizens get to make. So when we have the formation of a committee, they look at the charter, they look at the document that they hold, they look at the document that they keep that says this is how we manage elected officials. That is the citizens' document. And we get to put that document back to the citizens with the suggestions at hand. And if the suggestions don't pan out and the citizens say no, then the citizens say no. But I think it's paramount that we give them the opportunity to exercise their right to vote. And that is the most basic right, is the right to self-govern. And that comes through our individual rights to cast a vote. There are 11 items on there. Each citizen gets to take each of those 11 items, check through them one at a time, and say yes or no individually, one way or the other. As mayor, I think it is paramount that we allow the citizens to speak at every opportunity that they can. We've seen it in this city time and time again where things have been, where we've seen a yes vote on things and we've seen a no vote on things. And that just tells me that the citizens of this community are intelligent enough to come out and make their own decisions and make choices on how we run this city.
I almost had faith in the system right there. I guess we weren't as intelligent as they thought we were, because the voters rejected the pay raise. And things turned out a bit sour when that stinking pay raise ordinance was passed by the governing body just 4 months later.
Chapter 2. The Circumvention.
Mr. Mayor, councilors on the board, we, your constituents, recently voted on the charter amendments, one of which was to a pay raise in salary for the governing body. I think the vote made it very clear where the constituents stand on this issue. I was at the meeting where it was suggested to put it to the people for a vote, and if it fails, it was said that the governing body would have to have enough intestinal fortitude to pass it on in a new ordinance. This is exactly how politicians get a bad name. These are the same tactics used in a bait and switch. Essentially, you offer the vote, but don't accept the outcome. So you change it yourselves, citing the New Mexico Constitution as your grounds. I wish I had the power to grant myself almost double my salary and not be accountable to my boss who denied that raise when previously requested.
And before I let you leave, let me just ask a simple qualifying question. Like you said, if your employer said, hey, you ask him for a raise, and he said no. Now, how would you handle it if your employer said, I want you to work double the time that you're currently working and move from a part-time position to a full-time, and a large array of extra added responsibilities, okay, but said, oh, by the way, you're still going to get a part-time pay? Just how would you respond to that as an employee? I'm curious.
To answer that question,
would you contact New Mexico Workforce Solutions and file a grievance? I'm just curious.
I'm probably the wrong person to ask that personal question because My job requirements allow for me to be there 40 hours a week, but I'm there about 65, 70 hours a week.
Who doesn't want a pay raise, right? But I think we voters were a little smarter than they gave us credit for, considering that the full-time status of the mayor began 2 years prior to Mayor Hull, and the only real change in the mayor's duties was to allow the mayor to vote in the absence of a city councilor. Mayor Hull knew what the pay and the position were when he ran. Still, that didn't stop him from defending the action.
Chapter 3. The Justification.
These pay raises do not apply to the current elected officials. They would only kick in after the next election. Should either any one of us decide to run, we'd have to get elected, we'd have to put the time in, get elected, and then that would, one set of them would get here in 2018 is what this is, and then it wouldn't be till 2020 until the final ones kicked in. So this is not about us saying, any one of us up here saying we don't agree to what we agreed to. We're all agreeing to. What's being done here, quite frankly, as Councilor Smith pulled it forward, is a fix on what needed to be done, but it does not apply to anybody that's sitting up here. So yes, you're absolutely correct. I absolutely agree with you. We agreed to what we agreed to, and I've said this time and time again in public forums, that when we begin this discussion, it makes me extremely uncomfortable, because you all look at me when you're talking, but you refuse to acknowledge that this does not affect me and does not apply to me in my current term. And I think it's unfair to stand up there and say, well, the mayor's ignoring this or the mayor's ignoring that in one sentence, and then on the other sentence say, the mayor's just a PR guy, he has no power, he has no this, he has no that, but this is somehow all the mayor's fault. So it's a double-sided conversation if you see. But I would just like people who are speaking publicly to acknowledge, we understand this doesn't apply to you, so for you to say you agreed to what you agreed to, I agree to that. No pay raises in term. No pay increase, no pay decrease in term. Okay? So I just want to make that very clear and abundantly clear. So when you stand up there and say you agreed to what you agreed to, I agree to that.
With a city manager, a deputy city manager, an assistant city manager, and a multitude of department heads being paid hundreds of thousands a year to run the city, we can understand how a mayor's ego might be bruised. Still, the voters gave their answer.
The problem I have is when the electorate of the city votes for 11 out of the 12, and they don't vote for the 12th, there's a reason for that. And it's hard for me to sit here and ignore the will of the people because it was offered to them.
And I think for me, just my process is I'll do the research, I'll ask the questions, and then I run things through the filter of the Constitution and try to apply those principles.
Don't be too hard on the mayor now. His administration has been busy juggling several lawsuits filed against the city. Come to think of it, maybe he is earning that full-time status after all. Hey, I've got room in the doghouse for one more.
The governing body brought the pay raise ordinance forward with the excuse that they were fixing a constitutional issue regarding governing body members receiving pay raises during their own terms. You think it really required them to double the mayor's pay as part of it? And will the next governing body accept the election results on the new taxes, or will they look for a loophole again? Well, what do you think?